Now, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by Franziska Harter from Keto Voice, a media group. Hello, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Now, if we just pick up from the end of that report where they mentioned that counselling centres have been set up by the church, what's your reaction to that? It's about time, isn't it?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's we always have to acknowledge the terrible pain of the victims. Child abuse is a horrible crime, and it's even more awful if it's committed by a priest who should be a father figure, who should represent values and God's love and everything. And these children have been betrayed terribly, and they need all our compassion and support and attention now. And it's right, during a long time the church failed to react in an appropriate way. And for a long time, in too many cases, the church was busier with saving its own reputation rather than listening to the victims and punishing strictly the criminals. And it took a long time in church and also in society in general to become aware of the hugeness and the awfulness of this crime. And finally, it reacted. And I am a part of a generation in church who wants things to change. And as a young Catholic, I want my church to be a safe environment, a place where children can grow. And that's why I'm happy to see that also in France, the bishops now start to adapt strict measures and to really apply the zero tolerance rule, which was asked for by Benedict.
I was going to ask you about that. What have you seen of its application here in France?
So recently the French bishops took several measures which all start from the victims. I think they really learned to listen the victims and to start any approach from this. So now in all the dioceses there are support groups for victims. There is a mail address, an emergency mail address, which is supervised 24/7. There's also a new kind of commission of experts who works for prevention. And also the bishops promised to put light on all the old cases which haven't been treated till now.
When you say working on prevention, what does that involve?
So working on prevention is about setting safeguarding rules. So rules that make that priests, or in any case in youth work, they're always about two adults. It's also about talking about this issue in the formation to priesthood, which is very important.
Now, getting back to the Pope, he met the Archbishop of Lyon recently, and he said there was no reason for him to resign, not as long as the case hasn't been resolved, he said. What do you make of that? What message is that sending?
Mm-hmm. We have to see that Barbarin is actually one of the bishops in France who's the most active against child abuse. So cases which emerged in his time as Archbishop, he directly reacted in a very strong way. The problem of this case is, the current case is that actually the case is, the crime has been done 30 years ago. So now more clarity is needed and more investigations are needed. And Cardinal Barbarin, when he became Archbishop, he met this priest, and he decided to believe in his promise that since nothing happened again. And recently in an interview he also admitted that this might have been a mistake. But at the current moment, I think we can say that he is, in order to push the investigations and in order to give light on all these issues, it's better for him to stay, because he really tries to solve this crisis.
But don't you think that perhaps the law should be changed? Because as we saw in the report, you've only got a certain number of years to make your case. Shouldn't the law be changed so that everyone can get justice?
Absolutely. And this is the point where this victim organization, the Free Speech, and Cardinal Barbarin have completely the same purpose. Cardinal Barbarin also denounces this law, which makes that after 20 years you can't do anything anymore. And that's also a reason why it is important that church authorities and civil authorities work together, because in the church law there isn't any prescription. There isn't any prescription because a church says that the suffering never ends, and maybe the guilty can forget, but the victims never forget, and this is why a church can also sanction after these 20 years.
All right, thank you very much, Franziska Harter, for coming in for today's Focus. Thank you for